Good morning. Well, I think we all remember how we used to go to this kindergarten's celebration. That's way too bad. This round of applause were way too bad. Okay, dear friends, we are here today in Unit City. We have this You Tomorrow Summit. So please, once again, we're speaking about future. We're not speaking about the past that drags us down. Show me some emotion. Good morning. Well, when I was 16 years old and I started to work in a magazine, for me at that moment, I felt like my magic. When I was walking on the street and then out of somewhere I had an idea of some kind of article that I would like to write. Then 2 months have passed and I'm already having this magazine. It smells nicely printed paper and my article has already been printed in there. And I remember how around 7 years ago, for the very first time, I talked to Vasyl Khmelnytsky and we discussed this idea that this motor plant would be something unimaginable project. There was nothing here before. Then they had one small building. There are more buildings here with computers at that time. Then we had this Unicity title and the brand of Unicity. But every time I come here, a couple times a year, I see that there's a couple new big buildings are being raised here. The speed of the development of Unit City, I do believe, is the greatest mirror of how Ukraine is developed, of how fast the companies can be developed all over Ukraine. We're going to be discussing the picture of the future, because I do hope for your additional emotions. I hope for your questions. Please welcome Vasyl Khmelnytsky, UFuture Holding.
Вяло, вяло, вяло. Ну, 8 баллов по 10-бальной. Вот.
They're just 8 out of 10. Because let me start with another person. A very great woman is going to enter the stage, an aggressive investor. Please welcome Viktoriya Tigipko. Okay, I will give you another secret. Because a lot of people think that investment is about finances and the tables in Excel. That's not about that. Investment is about rock and roll. So that is why please show it once again by supporting Vladyslav Chechotkin, Rozetka founder. I do hope that you have some questions. So what is it I would like to start? If we're speaking about the future, then it would be better for us to start with analyzing the past. What is the most important that has changed for you in what you're doing and how you do that in the recent 7 years? Viktoriya, let's start with you. Great, so thank you very much for doing that. So trying to be very briefly, what has changed? Well, I think that personally for me, there are a couple of things that have changed. Feeling the time, because, there's more project, the project become more global and they're growing. So I do believe, considering the time has changed for me, the time has really, we have just meetings on 15 minutes and that's very important. Globalization, because all of the projects, they started to be very international. We had this iClub Global, the VTech, the Women's Organization for the IT businesses, the schools that we have in programming, that were as well becoming global. And so basically, I think the most important thing that changed for me is this the growth, the acceleration of all of the processes, something that we haven't seen even a couple of years ago in Ukraine. So right now we see a lot of talented entrepreneurs that have started to grow, that have started to appear daily. We can see that in the USF, the Ukrainian Startup Fund, that we're supporting with our grants, starting from $50,000, from $50 to $50,000. So this is the development, the tempo of development, the acceleration is something that really surprising. This is something that is relevant to the recent 5 years. Okay, can we have the sound for the monitors as well? Yes, I'm going to be speaking louder. Can you hear me? Okay, so there are three things that have changed, definitely have changed my consciousness as well. First of all, treating the competitors. Do you recall 7, 8 years ago, the speakers had said that the competitors are your enemies, you have to destroy your enemies and you have to destroy your competitors? That doesn't work. I do not think like that no more. So basically, I don't have any single businesses that is just Ukrainian, that will be only targeted for the Ukrainian consumer. So I'm building the businesses that should work all over the world. And to spend your energy to destroy the enemy or competitor, when you're going to destroy this person and you have 100 of competitors from Japan, from China, from Turkey, that doesn't worth it. I'm looking for the opportunities to make this joint product together with my competitors and to build it at the international markets. What competition in a different way. Unit City is built by three competitors: Com, UDP, and Kavalska. You know why? Because we're building a completely different product. We're not competitive on the internal market. We're competitors with the United States, with China. So that is why I see right now for the competitors, I see the opportunity to work together, to do something more together, to earn more in the external markets. Another thing that is very important, human capital. Before that, I was looking for people at the market. I was looking for more professional people to get them into the company. I thought I will get them more money, motivate them. Right now, in 7 years, I'm started to grow people inside of my company because people will usually want to work for 3 or 4 years and searching for new opportunities. As soon as I've trained the person, professionals, and everyone believes that if you will take someone from our company, is going to be a super effective person. So that is why we rebuild the team. We're creating a different structure. I'm taking young people, teach them for 3 or 4 years, and creating the conditions for them to stay in our company to get the results. And of course, I'm motivating them. Of course, I'm motivating them all the time. We have to have the good salaries, and maybe you should give even some kind of a share from income for the best people. And the third thing, the world is about ecosystems right now. Unit City is an ecosystem with different businesses, where different businesses can meet one another in cafe to find different points of touch, to think about the new startup. And the most important thing, they will find support here. They will find this opportunity to find the best of success here. And even if it's not about IT, we have an industrial park here as well. If it's about industry, we have one plant that works with plastics, the other one with lighting, the third one with metal. And it turns out that the company that actually does lighting, they need some products from wood, from plastics, from metal. They find a lot of opportunities inside of the industrial parks to grow better, to be more successful. So ecosystem is a new trend, and we work here as an ecosystem. That is very important. Another thing, we are preparing our professionals, starting from their students up to top management. I'm ready to join my forces with the competitors to earn and conquer the external markets together, to earn more money with us. Thank you. Vladyslav, please. Well, basically, we have a lot of things that has changed and started with the war in Ukraine, and that has been a very important choice for who we are, what we are, and we have identified ourselves that we are Ukrainian brand. We are Ukrainian brand, national brand. And I do recall those first days when it all has happened. I do remember when people don't turn to me and they've told me, like, we're going to the army and we're going to Donbass, or we're going to this border to Crimea. So when we will get back from the army, will you hire us again? I really whether our people will survive there. That was a very important moment for all of us because when the people who you trusted has turned into enemies and murderers. So for me and for the company, that was an important moment at that time. Another moment that we've had up till 2015, we have been a family company. We didn't have partners. We have been working on our own money with our own efforts, with our own powers, but Then we had investors coming to us. The Americans have joined us, so it should have been better. Mentally, yes. But basically now we have to work clean. And as we had a lot of things that we have faced of working clean and working officially, all the good things, then you cannot resolve things by giving bribes and making it faster. Then you have to go for quite a longest period of time and you have to ask them to do something. The all the good things that you cannot sell with the prices that you want because this product doesn't have any documents behind it and stuff like that. So I do believe that this is a very important thing that our state has done and reached, because throughout these 7 years we are getting closer to separate businesses from the state. And I do believe that in a couple of years, I am sure that in a couple of years we will be a clear, understood, transparent countries from the big investors. And a lot of things are going to change. Going to change a lot of things in competition inside of Ukraine, and a lot of things are going to change in case of investments and in case of institutional players. Another important change as well is that the way we treat people has changed. The war, the recession of economy, the huge growth of that huge growth and in the West at the same moment, the pandemic, when everyone understood that you can work remotely, it has caused to the idea that your people, they mean the most. And it's not just the phrase by some kind of a wise man, that this is something that is really important, because people, they're being outtaken and outsourced by just working remotely. For some people, there are people in Troyeshina district, they do not work for Rozetka, but they work for Asus and Amazon, or even for Russians. So that has been a very important big challenge as well, not only for Rozetka, but for all of us. What can we do to make sure that our people will stay with us, and our people to give us the additional opportunity for the added value? Inside of the company, inside of my company, and I'm quite sure that inside of all of the companies and inside of the Ukrainian progressive society, we can now see the shifts going on. And for example, the free coffee, and sorry for this example, when coffee or yoga or some educational courses is not just about the fashionable trend for hipsters and people who love smoothies. It's something that is now treated to be an obligatory, a mandatory condition for even the industrial plants as well. Because basically, when I'm speaking about developers, then, speaking about the industrial moments, when we're speaking about engineers or workers, so they can compare you with the working place in Poland, in UK, in Germany, wherever there is. And so you're competitive there. So basically there is a big challenge, because in one point people become the highly paid professionals who are going to be, if they are in the same place in Troyeshina, they're going to spend money in Ukraine. And what we need to find the way, first of all, for the people to work here with us, which is the ideal situation. The second option, for them to at least stay here but not live abroad. And this is the question to the state, basically, and to the society, of how we can make that happen. Another very important thing that you understand in the best way through the years as well. The people who have graduated from school in 2014, 7 years ago, they right now are highly paid professionals, and they are the super customers, loyal or not loyal, but they are the people who earn a lot and who spend a lot averagely in the country, and they're spending this money here. So basically right now in our strategy, we're trying to include the interest of the young people who are 10 or 8 years old right now, who are going to be the main our buyers in the future. I think that's all that I wanted to say. I wanted to find another metaphor for myself as well of what has happened 7 years ago. Basically, it's 2014, if you can recall that, and we had a lot of tragical events taking place then. But I have a great feeling that in 2014, there is a big tree that has broken down at this moment. It has been screeching, there has some dry parts there before, but I do believe that this mentally old and outdated previous methods, they have fallen down in 2014. When it has fallen down in February 2014, it still was creaking. But out of this Trump, out of this stump, out of this tree, we had the new tree growing. I have met just one guy today. He has left Ukraine. He has been for 5 years. He have come back in 2018, and he told me that he hasn't recognized his country. He said he doesn't want to leave now. He started to work as a freelancer. He has turned his small agency. He now runs 19 people. They learn a lot and earn a lot. And he is this green sprout, the green sprout on the stump. And we have a lot of people like that. I do believe that it's very cool that we're staying in Ukraine, but sometimes we do not see the good things happening. How many things have existed, have appeared in the recent years. And speaking about the changes that has been with me and with my company, was the switch from some really focused, closed mindset to a very open ecosystem and mindset. Because 7 years ago, I had a different mentality, like, this is my company, I earn this company for 100%. I only deal with my company. I am the head of my company, and this is the point of my focus. I'm doing marketing. I know how that works. The modern world, it requires to be much more open. And we're now developing the partnership program inside of the company. I'm sharing my income and sharing my shares with my employees. And because I know that if I won't do that, I will not be able to hold them in my company or in Ukraine, because they're so talented that it's much easier for them to start their own business. The very same thing we do with partnership with our clients. We're always ready to the different formats of work. We're not only speaking about the royalties, but we're always saying, like, maybe we should invest you would be even better. And we have thought about that we couldn't have dreamt about that a couple of years ago. Right now, we're working with clients from Tashkent to LA, and just this week. And this globalization, it has started because of this shift and break. Like Viktoriya, I have this feeling that the time is really intense and pressed. I've been walking my dog at 7 o'clock in the morning. That has been my first Zoom, my first Skype with Chicago, because we have a client in Chicago, and we didn't have the chance to talk to him while we had evening in my place. And he said, like, okay, it's going to be 11 o'clock in the evening for me. It's going to be 7 o'clock for you, and let us close this issue today. And this evening, I'm going to have a lot of Zooms. 7 years, it wasn't about that. And I do believe that these are very cool changes that has happened. And I cannot even suppose how cool it will be in 7 years. Okay, I would like to switch to the next question. For everyone who's here at this stage, technically, I'm sure that you have the opportunity to live to another country or other city. So everyone who's here, everyone who has stayed here in Kiev, in Ukraine, I would like to ask you, why have you made this decision to stay here? And what it is for you, the main advantage for Kiev, a main advantage for Ukraine right now, and what it is that you're lacking? What has to change to make it even better, even more productive? Viktoriya? I can see that my mic is working already. Okay, good. So, I think there were three main things that I've said and I've changed for myself, and the changes that I see, I wanted to clarify them once again, because, this is the red line that actually takes for a couple of years already, not just for me, but for, I think, every member of our team and all the people in our team. So it's about the speed, how you treat the time, and how you treat the quality of relations with people, and quality of project, the choice of the projects that we're doing. So basically, Ukraine is like, this is a no-brainer for me. I'm not going to leave Ukraine, and but basically, as an investor, as investment firm, that all of my activities are really highly connected. That you're constantly moving. At least like half of the power project is in US, half of the project in Europe, in Latin America, and Israel, in Southeastern Asia, in MENA. So we are following the serious money. We're following the serious funds. We're starting to have these rep offices, not just the agent moments. Of course, I spent a lot of time in US, a lot of times in Europe, and a lot of times in Ukraine. Three of my children, they actually educated in Ukraine. That my oldest, he wanted to study in London president in US, but he told me he will be back to Ukraine to go to make businesses. So starting from the 1st of September, he started to study in Kiev School of Economy. I approve his choice, but it doesn't mean that we should not make changes to our educational system. Our educational system is broken, unfortunately or fortunately, and this blue ocean that we currently have in transformation of online education, and this is the trend that is not going to draw back. We have to invest and we have to do everything to make the online education to have a different quality. We need to add up the gamification factor, because I see it. I take a look at my youngest son. He will be 13 this October, and how to engage children of this age and teenagers to the educational system. You can only do that by integrating the gaming studios into the system of the online education. We're considering this direction of the project very serious, and we will be investing this direction as well. So on trends, we have been tracking trends every 5 years. So we started TA Ventures from 2010 to 2020. We have invested into more than 180 companies, 18 companies a year. So we used to be the generics every 5 years. Then we've changed the trends, and we have seen the new interesting directions. We have got involved into more trends. So in next 5 years, the trends have changed, and we have had this presentation, and I can share it with you how we following the trends and how we track the trends. So right now we are adapting the trends in our investment policy for every 2 or 3 years, because if before that, if you have been investing the 18 companies a year, so right now in 4 months we have got the new fund. In 3 months the processes are being accelerated. The funds used to take a lot of years. Right now 3 or 4 months and you can have 50 millions. So there's a lot of money in the work. So there has to be 80 billions in the venture sector that is managed by 1,000 of funds. We have a lot of money. We need talents and creativity people. So right now we are investing 8 companies a month. That's 4 times more than we invested in previous years. 4 times. So we're getting accelerated as well. The processes, the people, our processes, our brain is working on a very different speed. So right now we having a very different tasks here. So I have said that basically, what are the other things? Our connections, our relations. And this is basically the relations that we have to build, that we have to do, and the choice of whatever we do, whatever we do. This is the factor of time. 36% of people, of managers, are depressed, and this trend is going to be increasing as well. It has been also multiplied by the COVID-19, and this is the new trend in healthcare that we have to deal with as well. So the quality of your relations with people, to take a look at the people around you and define the problems, that's important. How would you advertise Kiev and Ukraine for your European or American partners? What do you say when they ask you why Ukraine is cool? Well, take a look at that. We always have shared with our deals, because we are not competitors. We're not competitive with our investors. We are not competitive with people who would like to have the lead investors. That's good. We always have been good in sharing. They've asked our advice. How can you work with Ukraine, with Belarus? But it's cool. Why? But now the trends has actually changed. We have never needed to advertise it, because my venture business has started because the person who know me, they've got a company from India to Ukraine. And the first thing I was with Yevhen Utkin, that's 2009, Mr. Kardakov. So basically, I just introduced them to these people, and they said okay, so we'll starting to do that on our own. We'll starting to do the investment companies. And now I know what I want to do all my life. This is how it's all started. So we didn't need a place to invest because or advertise it, because everyone knows Ukraine as a place of talents. But there's hundreds of thousands of developers and really smart software developers, the people who are building up the future. I think biggest share of them, they can be the founders and the owners of the company if our education from the youngest age, even from age of 3, would have been built in different way. If we have taught our children to pitch, if we have told them how to do the self-presenting, if we told them about business, about entrepreneurship, if we taught them what product is about, because right now we are being taught by taught remotely. There's something that we don't want to do. We want to break those systems right now. So as an advice to myself and to our team, we're doing loads of our efforts to that, is the development of some certain transformation changes, systematic changes in the society through building the so-called civil societies. So the people who are getting together on their interest sphere, so changing their system, they're not changing just one thing or not changing themselves. It is important to build up your own environment as well, but it will not resolve the whole of the problems. We need a systematic change. So everyone who creates rods, the fishing rods, to fish, those are the people who are going to help up the future. So we need to take those peoples and build up the fishing rods to be able to build up the systematic change. Then that will work. Okay, thank you, Vasyl. Well, Andrei, first of all, I would like to support you because there's a lot of cool projects in Ukraine, a lot of cool people, and classical media, they never show that. They only show some bad things, and that's why Vika said there's a lot of depression for the people because you can see that something has burned or something has been stolen. 3 years ago at Biopharma, we had one of our workshops burned. It has been a very big fire that was all very bright in burning. All of the media were there. Everyone were writing that this problem is there, and we have invested $12 million. We have built the new workshop, and only 2 channels have come, and only one of them has shown that. You see, the good news are never popular. So, dear friends, thank God that we now have the alternative networks. What we have to show is about more cooler cases, more good news. And people have to know that there is the perspective, there is the future. They should risk. They should not be afraid of risking because basically that's very cool. Why I'm here in my country? First of all, I love my country. I objectively love my country. I have been to many places all around the world and I have seen very nice places. I like US as an approach to businesses. American dream. You work a lot, you earn a lot. That's logical. But still, every place has its own culture. You know, Americans, they never smile sincerely. They ask me how you do, and when I'm explaining it to them, they already left. Or, for example, when I'm coming back from the US in the business class, there is the stewardess coming up. She's like 65 years old, and I'm asking her for some water, and she smiles at me and she said, like, yes, you can. And in half an hour, I'm asking for more water. She's doing it for 3 times, but I have never got my water. But in Ukraine, if you're being loved, then it's sincerely. If you're being hated, then you can see that straight away. Everything is real here. You know, I've grown up in these things. I love it. It's all open. Yes, we lack some knowledge. That's for sure. Yes, people do not like to learn in Ukraine. That's for sure as well. But you know, step by step, we're making this processes possible. So I see unlimited opportunities here. Speaking on innovation, I see a lot of talents. But speaking about the production, I do believe that as a country we can be number one in the world. Why? Because right now, during the pandemic, a lot of Western companies, they're not working with China because they understand that if this channel is going to be closed down, then the product is not going to be provided for Europe. They're looking for new opportunities, and that's about us. We can create the new plants here, raise the economy. Why? Because we have a lot of hardworking people in our country. I have defined myself. All of my businesses are 100% here in Ukraine. So I do believe that we'll be able to make our country better together. Vladyslav? Well, you know, it's a very hard question why you're here or why you're there. And basically, you know, always it's about some subjective factors. It's not about some objective things. Speaking subjectively, I was born here. I've got old here, so I feel myself really comfortable in this society, and I really would like to continue developing this society and develop it as well. Speaking about the good things that Ukraine is being developed in a quite fast pace, I have been to many places too, and I can also say that first of all, our people are hungry. That's very good because it means that they're ready to work. They're ready to work, they're ready to fight for the best future for themselves. Unlike the US, when they have the class of people that need nothing, unlike Europe, where that actually is now living off what they've earned before, unlike African countries and Latin American countries that are not that highly developed. They doesn't have the basis, they doesn't have the foundation, they don't have any kind of cultural past, if I may say that. And we have it all. Our foundation is much better than their foundation is. So, and overall, I think that this is a very important component to any kind of businesses, because we say that people live, we say that people do not want to study or they're not educated enough. But basically, overall, we have much more people who would like to learn, with much more people who really would talk to you in the same language, the people who share your ideas and your vision of the future. And that is very important. Just to say how I would advertise Ukraine, then I would go, I think, with some of the banalities and some of the very simple things, because it's one of the biggest countries in the world, whether we can have argue whether the biggest or not. 40 million people. And and all of us here, the people who would like to be richer, people who would like to be happier, and we are choosing our path clearly. We are going to the developed Western future. That's it. Yeah, I would add up a little bit from my part about Ukraine, because I have had this, there's always say that the grass is always greener on the other side. And I know that there is another phrasing. I think it's Stanislav Yezhilets had said that, nothing actually breaks your target as the bullseye shot. So when you're sitting here in Kiev and you believe like, okay, in Berlin, that's everything is cool there. We've opened the office in Berlin. We started to talk to Berlin agencies. We've started to talk there. And I've known that I was offered to switch places with them. That, I'm the owner of this agency in Berlin with those indicators. I don't want to do that. It turned out that our agency is better. And I understand that it's very important so that Ukraine would feel, would take down these complexes that we sometimes tend to have, that we should take down those complexes that we are not that much, that we're not enough. Because I have been bothered by this idea that we have to go to Europe and we'll have something like in Europe. I don't want to be like in Europe. I want to be better than Europe. So when I'm looking at this project, this architecture, at startups, at many different examples in different spheres, I understand that we have much better situation. And basically, the thing is about how we should see that, how Viktoriya has said about the pitchings, about how we feel ourselves on the quality of our presentation, so on and so forth. For me, Ukraine is about freedom. I believe that it's an important positioning that we should all consider, that we should all know. Because like 2 weeks ago, we have been taking a boat trip with around like 20 guys from the Silicon Valley. And one of them has told me an important thing. He has said that in order for everything to be developed in the fastest pace, there are only three things needed. You need a lot of talented people, you need freedom, and a lot of money. And he has told me that he has said that couple of years ago in Kiev and in Ukraine, you couldn't find all of those components. Right now, all of the components are here because we are the people, we learn fast, and everyone is saying that Ukraine is the country of great talents, but we have to hold them. The freedom is in our DNA. We have proved that. And if we will compare the level of freedom with the neighboring country that we have, and even with some of the European countries that have been overregulated, they have been overregulated even because they are even more developed. This is our advantage. And I've asked about money, and he said that the money are changing their approach to you because in the recent 2 years, because there has been the pandemic, because you can now make the investments, the decision in Zoom, the barriers are taken down. And on the other hand, the cases have appeared as well. Every time as Ukrainian company as Reface has the big investments for the big venture fund, it makes Ukraine more sexier. It makes Ukraine sexier for all of the investors. The more unicorns we'll have in Ukraine, the more successful agreements we'll have in Ukraine, then the better, the more and the calmer the money will come to Ukraine. And I do believe that this combination, talent plus money plus freedom, is our magic formula that we have to multiply by 40 million people then. Something that I like now, because I have thought about that at this moment. Everyone who we have at our meetings, we have seen and we have met one another at multiple different projects in the recent 2 weeks. And this is the coolest moment. It's not about the competitiveness. It's a mental shift. When we are changing our mind frame, when we are changing this old, outdated, unfortunately, something that has been very inherited by our part of the world, when we are trying to get together, that will be better. Yeah, we are the competitors to Unit City. Well, take a look, cooperative, just a couple of stops on the same trolley buses. But in the same time, we're doing the same case. We're doing the same thing. Andriy, by the way, you have promised me before about sharing the shares, remember? So I think this is the high time to share some of your shares. Okay, so I would like to switch 10% of cooperative for 10% of Unit City. I agree. I'm sure that we have a lot of witnesses here to witness this agreement. Okay, but the next question I wanted to ask you was the question of ambitions. What are your ambitions for the next 7 years? Victoria? Yes, starting with you.
Окей, точно. А женщины отвечают всегда первыми.
Okay, we know that women are always the first to answer. That gender equality. Okay, yes, I feel about equality right now. Okay, good. So, okay, what are the ambitions for the next 7 years? Very simple. So, just to continue your great speech that you have started with, I just wanted to say for those interpreters to come, for those entrepreneurs to come and stay, it is important for them to have this opportunity to raise money. You have raised 50 million. No, that's not enough for Ukraine. That's very, very low for Ukraine. We need to have 20 or 30 more investment funds. So this is the problem. There's our fund exists. There are a couple of other funds that are trying to do something here. That's not enough. We need to have this multiplication effect. We need to have like 50 or 150 million and to give around 10% to the state, and then we will find the investment investors and they will provide this money at least 20, 30 micro venture funds, and they will find the good projects. No, it's not about granting. It's just an investment. It's like an investment, and they will need to find additional provide 50%, the matching money. That will be honest thing to do. We're working on this pilot project, and then we will be able to hold our entrepreneurs here, because people do not go for money, they go for networking. Only just for 7 people I know in the last 3 months, I advised them the lawyers to apply for Ukrainian citizenship. So I see that definite different trend, So I'm tracking the perimeters for example, creative spaces, because sometimes we need to go to breakfast, and the amount of people who are there in dinners and lunches, I couldn't imagine that even a year ago. Maybe because there was pandemic, but or whatever. But I didn't see that during the pandemic as well. So people are coming to us, and there is this definitely the different movement. But then again, we have to think about the territory. I spend a lot of time abroad because I'm working like that, and people are asking like, do you want to leave or no? But I'm not thinking to leave. Anywhere else but Ukraine, because I never thought about this geography where I would like to live in. But what I have analyzed about people I know in US, in Europe, in Israel, a little bit away from Mexico to Latin America where we work as well, it is very interesting that there are some couples that build. There are some people coming from the CIS and the Americans. Those are the friends who you would like to go for a dinner and drink a glass of wine or whatever. But the businesses, they are about the international cases. But you should not undermine your regions, and by the way, and should not undermine the people who live, Ukrainians who live abroad. We have talked about this to Andriy, and we want to have this really good communities, the communities of regions, for example, where people would like to broadcast their businesses. We have started to do that. iClub is still doing that already, to raise the wave of our people there. It would be very cool and very, very nice, because that would be the direct case of developing international business. We have launched our VTech in Berlin yesterday. So WTech is the women's community in IT and in business. 2 years ago, we had less than 1,000 participants there. Now we have more than 4,000 women, the business owners. You are having this managing position or the founders of the ITC. We have opened our offices in Berlin and before that in London, and we are being founded by our communities there. Of course, some people will get back, but some people will stay there, and that would be a good basis for the further on development of our businesses in other territories as well. That can be a very interesting project that can be launched here at Unit City. We'll discuss it later. Can men come to WTech? Yeah, people even offer them money for that. It's a sexism not to take them. No, basically, for the free entrepreneurs and they can people who they can actually go that. But the WTech works it for women, and they're in this constant chat. And if there is the need to exchange the opportunities, so like you need to find a person in business, you need to find a lawyer. Or I need an SMM SPAC professional, or if there's someone in Singapore that you need help. So the wave is really overwhelming. So this is basically already a filtered group of advice to save your time. And with this really simple movement, you can make these big decisions. And I do believe that WTech is an good case of it. So basically, I am the mentor in WTech, and there was a joke, but what I have seen in the last 7 years as well, this is the quantity and the quality of the clubs that have appeared in our sector. If, for example, 7 years ago, we had the really formal business associations, everything was, and they was only working with lobbying, then right now I see the different projects when the people are helping one another. I have been included into some of the chats, and I can see how it works 24/7. Give me a notary. Is anyone in Chicago and whatever. And I do believe that clubness is very important. The being in part of the club, it is important in relations. When you are open, when you are transparent, you will win much more. And then when you're going to be okay, I know a good notary, I will never tell anyone about that. So this is a trusted link. It's very important. Okay, Viktoriya, what is your biggest ambition for the next 7 years? To invest into 1,000 companies, so that WeTech would actually have more than 10,000 women just in Ukraine, and as much in all of the territories that we have been represented as well in US, Europe, and Asia. We want to have in our club for more than 100,000 children that are being taught on software, and I think it's about 5 years to take that number, and for the people to learn to teach them how to make the investment decisions, because I have seen how much money they've changed, how much money they lose without learning. That's a good example. In 2014, I have been investing around only 500,000 people have been investing. So last year, there have been 20 millions of people who have been investing on these different platforms, interactive platforms, iTora, Robinhood. But unfortunately, the practice shows that the quality of the investment decision is low. The people follow the advertisements, but those are on those territories where people have been reading papers, and all of the families from grandparents to the teenagers, some they used to know what the shares of their companies are. But if we will work with this situation in our environment, that will be a greatest problem for that. So we have to make this investment decision for the people. So what we're doing with an iClub, and what we're doing with the clubs that teach the investors to invest consciously, that actually builds up the cluster for the private investors. And I know that we do not have enough private investors right now in Ukraine. Together with the small amount of the funds that we currently have, and the one that we're going to have with the program funds of funds that we're now promoting on the level of the state as well, we're going to have these private investors that are going to be the greatest power. They will be investing into the industrial project that Vasyl is investing into. They will be working with those startups that we have now tracked with Andriy and Yaroslava. So we had this 100 of startups, and 10% of that you really wanted to invest. So we're working on that now. So this is something that is going to help us to do something the right way. So otherwise the formula will not work. Okay, Vasyl. Andrew, I'm a very ambitious person, and I really like ambitious people as well. So when I am actually asking people, hiring people of work, I'm asking them what are their ambitions. And if they say they have no ambitions, I'm not hire this person. All of my team, they have ambitions. We want to build up a coolest project that is not only going to be known all over the country, but will be known all over the world. But what are my ambitions? We're building Unit City. Unit City is an ecosystem. innovation. European Innovation Bank has given us the loan on the very, very low interest. I cannot even tell you what the interest is, but lower than 3. Lower than 3, that's already good. But basically, what was the goal? They've told us that what we are doing, this is investment into sustainable development. If you will make it happen, then we will be ready to give you loans with the lower interest for you to start working in the developing countries, because it's not only the problem of Ukraine that the talents are living. This is the problem for every country. If we will be able to do that, we are tracking not 7 years but 15 years. Our strategy is for 15 years on this way, on this path, until we will go to the countries, developing countries further on. I really would like to build this object in Ukraine, in the regional centers, because the problem is that not just the young people live abroad, but they are living from their regions and coming to Kiev and then abroad. It is really important for us to make them stay in Odessa, in Sumy, in Kirovograd, so that would make the centers there, so they would develop businesses there, so that the young people would be making their businesses and money there and to stay there. Right now, we're doing that in Kharkiv and in Lviv. We have an ambitions to open at least together with the local community, which is very important, together with the business community, so that the business community would join us as well, so that the young people would succeed there, so that the talents would stay there. And of course, for them to stay in Kiev as well, not to go abroad. But maybe that will turn out that way, so that we will have the developed and experienced people from there, so they would come and work here. So the ambition is to build up something in Ukraine in the next 10 years and then go abroad, if we will see that there is demand for that. Then there is the biggest difficulties and challenges that we have to teach entrepreneurship in the schools. We have to teach entrepreneurship in the schools straight away, because in Ukraine, I would like to say, what we lack is entrepreneurs. We have only 1.5% of the entrepreneurs here. We need more and more people who knows how to do businesses. We need to take these school programs of how to work with innovation and entrepreneurship. And if it's going to be all together, then all of the startups are ours. So our ambition in the next 15 years to build up these growth points all around the country and to go abroad. Of course, we are working. Vladyslav? Basically, I really like to share the future plans, because, the future comes really fast and it's easy to check whether your plans came true. But still, nevertheless, understanding that the share of the e-commerce in Ukraine is much lower than in Poland and is dramatically lower than in Korea or UK or in China, then understanding that Rozetka only takes a really, really small share in the retail in Ukraine, then I know that for the next 7 years, are going to be very perspective for us, sky and diamonds. We would like to double or even triple our businesses every year. The one thing is that we would like to know how to deal with that. What we really want to do and we really want to be, Fedoriv has sold us. He told us what's going on with us and has to happen with us. So we have to do every time whatever that is needed, and we want to be this universal response, a universal answer to all of the needs for the people of Ukraine. We want to be this one-stop shop for both the goods and services. We are the biggest platform in Ukraine for the entrepreneurs, but there's still a lot of things for us to do. We have the same ambitions as Vasyl. That's about the development, the entrepreneurship, for building up the entrepreneurs class in Ukraine and building up the entrepreneurship culture in Ukraine. And we really, really believe, we have strong faith that the further on development of e-commerce in Ukraine and the further on development of logistics and the further on development of our brand is, I don't know, not a hint, but maybe a milestone of what direction of the development you might take when, basically I have just the same thoughts as Vasyl has when I have been in Khmelnytsky or in Kropivnitsky, or when I have been to Kamyansk. So basically you can build up your life there. It will be cheaper there. It will be easier there, and the internet will give you a lot of opportunities to work all over Ukraine and to work all over the world. And we're promoting this idea that you can live locally and work globally. I've haven't finished about this advertisement of Ukraine. Not a lot of people understand that, but for many categories, for many countries, Ukrainian passport has much more weight than the passport of a neighboring country. And I know a lot of people who have, for many different reasons, who reside in Russia, whose children have Russian citizenship, who cannot now enter to any kind of good institute, who do not have visas to Europe or to United States, and who only can dream about the free life. We underestimate it and we never think about that. But we had this very interesting story when we wanted to go to US, and one of my friends, he has a European passport. You know, the Europeans do not need the visa to US. They only need to have this e document, how it's called, a e pass. That's called Esther. I can't recall them. So they have an e visa, and so Americans have recalled all of the e visas. So with a European passport, you cannot go to US for a year and a half. But in Ukrainian, you can get a visa and to go to US. So when he has his Ukrainian passport as well. So when he came to Ukrainian embassy and Ukrainian went to US embassy with his Ukrainian passport, and he said that, I have a European passport, but can I have a visa with my Ukrainian passport? The members of the members of the embassy said this is the first time that Ukrainian passport is better than European. But basically, I think that we have to understand that and we have to advertise that as well. I'm sure that this advantage will not last long, but it is right now, and we have to use that. But Russian passport, Belarusian passport, and all of the other countries that are to the east of us, then this is a biggest advantage for us right now. So we're trying to use this advantage as well, and we're going to use this advantage as well. And we hope that at least our business is going to scale up and is going to be much more influential in people's life and in economy. And we do hope that this business is going to take the very same role as the businesses like ours influence in America and in Europe.
Если говорить о
Okay, now if we speak about our ambition, then we have these three different categories. So the first category is about marketing for us. We would like to be the leading company in marketing in Ukraine, and I do believe that's what we have started, what we do to build up the deep connection with our clients, but not switching from one client to another. This is something that has worked out for us. We're really, really proud that for 5 years we have been working with Rozetka. We're really happy that for 8 years we're working with Nova Pochta. We're really happy that we have been working for 10 years with Vasyl's projects, and we will be continuing together doing good things here. But in 3 years, we have approved the strategy that we would like to be consciously fighting to be the leader in CIS. We want to be the first marketing country in CIS. This year, we're speaking about autumn. I think that autumn was going to be our breakthrough because we're launching the new big bank in Azerbaijan. We are making the rebranding for the biggest retailer with the biggest share of market in Uzbekistan. We are making the big projects in Kazakhstan on beauty businesses. We have the big projects in Armenia on gambling. So basically, all together, I believe that these projects are going to keep us moving on. But the biggest global position for us is to become the real international agency. We right now have the projects in Germany, in Switzerland, in US. We have been slightly frustrated with the scale up and what is going to be the scale of the projects in the US. And I'm widely enjoying this concept of made in Ukraine sold to the world. So the second moment for me is an investment direction, and in this case, we really would like to go deeper. We would like to deepen our collaboration with our clients, with our partners, with our friends, and I'm smiling with that because right now we have the businesses that has been invested together with Viktoriya's fund. I see Ihar Liske, DocUI, the one that we have also have become the shareholders. The Nova Poshta has invested to DocUA as well. DocUA has very good experience in Ukraine, and they're starting their international expansion. We're being wanted by other markets as well, and this is unbelievably cool. And we really would like to have more and more of those projects coming. We have been choosing for 2 years in a row what are the projects that we will be doing with Vasyl. And this kind of investments, they're the ones that really drives us. That really drives us, excites us. And the third ambitions are about the artistic ambition, because I've seen that talents is the number one equity that we have as a country. And now I see that it's not just the problem that the talents are living. The problem is that the talents are not self-actualized here. When the people with the lack of when they maybe don't have enough trust, when the lack of stimulus, especially when people are still teenagers, they just decided to give up. So we had the new foundations of the Rena Zholdak's foundation, and our strategy can be described in 2 words: the spark of talents. We really would like to focus on supporting teenagers from 12 to 18 years old, to support them not to be afraid to choose any kind of creative profession, a profession in creative industries. You know that in creative industries we have 12 or 13 different directions, and we also about the entrepreneurship. We believe that entrepreneurship is a creative profession, not just about money. There's a lot of creativity in entrepreneurship. It's about IT, it's about theater, it's about architecture, it's about literature, it's about film. We see how Ukrainian film is being developed as well. And we really want the people who live in the small cities or in the big cities all over Ukraine, we want them not to be afraid to choose, for them not to choose between becoming a tax officer or a lawyer. We want them to be ready to implement and actualize their talents. So right now in our Fedoriv blog, we have made 280 videos. And I understand that when the people ask me what was the book that has changed your life, just one book, I understand that not a single book. I've read, but the thing that I've read 1,000 books. That's something that influenced my life. So we want to continue that. We want to make more of a content, and I do believe that in a couple of months we will start to translate this content into English, or to translate it into other languages as well. And we really want the Ukrainian the world to know about the Ukrainian entrepreneurs, about Ukrainian talents, and so on and so forth. We really want to send those sparks to all over the continent. This as amount of ambition, this is something that drives me forward. That's like that. I think that we have around like 10-15 minutes left, and I think that we have some questions from the people, and I would like to pose those questions to you. And the question to Vasyl Khmelnytsky, what are the innovative technologies that are the most important in your industrial plans? And do you collaborate? Do you collaborate on finding innovations in other countries for your industrial plans? Okay, speaking my industrial plans, there is a good news about that. Okay, the bad news. The bad news about that is that actually in the recent future, the robots are going to shift people, and they're going to substitute people. We have a plant in Bila Tsarkva, and they're making these ladders there. We have some partners there. They have already bought an equipment that substitutes 3 welders. And in half a year, they will earn some money. They will buy another equipment like that. So we will have lesser and lesser jobs. The good news is not going to happen as fast as everyone told us, because when I was reading this book on the 21st century, and it was said that soon all of the cars are going to be driverless, and there's going to be lots of people who will be left out of jobs. So right now I don't see the driverless cars in Kiev or in Bila Tsarkva. I think that this is going to happen in 20 or 15 years, so we have some time. But the idea that these new technologies are going to eat out the jobs, that's for sure. So my opinion, I think that we have 15 or 20 years when Ukraine can make this giant leap on this technology, because right now, while we have this labor resources, while we have the human capital, while we have the talented people, we can build up this production lines, we can build up those industries, we can earn the money on that to provide our products year by year to the world. And then, year by year, the robotics are going to substitute people. So, in our industrial plants, we're using the most modern equipment. We're using robots as well because it's much more effective, it's much cheaper. So, because for example, this equipment that works, the substitute welders, it works 24/7, so it doesn't make any mistakes. On the other hand, it is actually for me very hard to understand that we have 4 people left without a job. But if I'm not going to be doing that, I will not be competitive. I will not be competitive towards my competitors that work in Turkey or who work in China. So that is why, whether I want it or not, but we're going to use the new technologies, we're going to substitute people on those positions. And on the other hand, we need to find more high quality, the more highly qualified people, the people who can work with equipment, who can do that, who can replace it, and who can remote. And but I do believe that we have around 15, 20 years when we can actually continue working on the industrial economy. Okay, good. Pavlov, the entrepreneur, asked these questions. What are the principles that are needed for the leadership? Vladyslav? Well, my answer would be there's no universal answer. There is a lot of people who are different. The most important thing for me, you have to believe what you're doing. The second thing is that you have to be very critical towards yourself, and basically, um, you have to be very you have to believe in what you do, and you have to be critical towards yourself. You have to be actually learn. You have to actually learn all the time, and you have to be honest, because any kind of dishonesty, any kind of try out to hide that you're not honest, that is really felt by people. And like, if I don't not know the answer to the question, I will just say that I don't know. I can ask my colleagues, or I can learn this question for quite a long time. So basically, it's very much different than I have thought about leadership at the very beginning of my career. So when you have to know everything, when you have to be, and you have to know everything better than everyone else. So the farther you go, the better businesses are developed. The more frequently I understand that if you would like to do something good, then you have to do that on your own. It's not about me. And it's not about people right now. It's none of the leaders would say that. Because, it's slightly from a different thing. But, Steve Jobs, he have said that we are hiring smart people and we're paying them good money, just not to tell them what to do. So that's a very important thing as well. That's a very important thing as well, and important revelations that comes with age, with the business development, because basically right now, really rich people, they tell us the stories that everyone are bad, but if you would like to do something, that you have to do it on your own. But that's not true. So the question from Alexandra Stepanets, I understand this question to Viktoriya Tigipko. So what is your idea? What do you think that a lot of startups is one big bubble that can really reach us to the next big economical crisis? Okay, that's a good question. But if we have thought about that, then I think we wouldn't be doing what we do and starting from 2010. In our statistics, among the companies that we have invested into, we have 58 exits, we have 26 IPO, we have 17 unicorns, the 2 unicorns, and one of the biggest indexes for these foundations that invested on the early stages. We wouldn't be doing 8 companies a month, which is 4 times more with our previous years, if it wasn't that good. Digitalization of the global economy is the biggest trend. So right now, all of the businesses are being digitalized. At the new normal direction of the development of the economy, only those people who earn oil or gold and the opportunity to, the one who earns the customer, the one who can launch the processes in the right way, this is the winner of today's. So this is a lot of processes on buying, the procuring internet companies who are doing just the same, the companies of your colleagues from offline, because the offline doesn't know how to talk to the world of digital language, and with their buyers and with the world. So we'll be continuing doing that as well. So another moment that we have to believe and have to keep in mind that the future is here and everything is changes in a faster pace. So more than 300 companies, what Vasyl has said as well, we have more than 300 companies who are working with the driverless taxis. And one of the companies we wanted to invest as well, we also have our anti-portfolio, and there's in Qatar, there is a plant that is being built for the basically plant-based meats. We have been investors of the company that works with a artificial protein. So basically the quality and the taste is just like milk. You will not, there's no milk in that, but it tastes like milk. It doesn't have any antibiotics. It doesn't have all of the problematic things that connected to the animal origins of the milk. But this is the trends that are happening right now. There are the industries of trillion million dollars over there. So, there was also made an interesting investment to the company with the space logistics based on the new technology. So everything is changes. In the next decade, we're going to change our work a couple of times, and our children were going to change their work. So you have to invest into online education. You have to invest into yourself, and you have to be really ready that we're going to change jobs multiple times. There's a lot of trends that might happen. Trend in life, in longevity, in biotech. Those are the new directions we're tracking. I really don't want to be called the old birrer, because when I was 30 years old, when I have given birth to my first child, they told me that I'm an old birrer. But I know that we are investing into the companies in, for example, providing the life for the women's cells, but we will be following the gender equality so that the women could give birth to children when they're 100 years old or whatever they want. So those all of the things that we did not track properly, but the trends and the life changes really fast. So we have to be faster, and we have to not just follow the trends, but we have to predict the trends. I believe in whatever we're doing, and it actually develops all of the systems of the entrepreneurships, and it takes the businesses to the online levels, and it helps us to globalize our ideas to the other countries as well. So being born in Ukraine, we are winning out our horizons all over the world. That's very important. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. There's Catherine Stepp, question from Catherine Stepp. I think that's to Vasyl. So what is the difference between the mindset of the millionaire and the mindset of the billionaire? Can you give it your own example? Okay, Andrea, it depends on what are the goals in the life, because my goal is not to become a billionaire. My goal is about to build up incredibly cool projects that drive me. Maybe I will not make this billion because, I'm not setting it as a goal. I think that there's no difference in mindset whether you earn a million or a billion. People think that billionaire is, it's easy to be a billionaire in your life. That's not the truth. I really like the book by Ray Dalio. This is my favorite book. It's very comfortable to live when you're not a billionaire. You think in a different way. You believe that everyone wants to get something from you. You're always having guarded. You're always dissatisfied with something. I am very comfortable in being millionaire. Okay, I am multimillionaire. That's very good as well. I'm not thinking about how to become a billionaire. I'm thinking about how to build these cool projects that will drive me, that have a very good social impact. And this is my goal. Okay, thank you. I think that it's more of a question to all and everyone. So, okay, what are your main now? What is the thing that you now hire? What are the people who are the C-level position in your companies? The question is being asked by Vovan Diho. I can do a fast answer because basically, this is the main goal for myself is actually to a couple thousand times a year we're tracking the different projects and we are investing them. So basically, the most important case here is being professional. Another thing is to love what you're doing, and then of course about. So basically, there is Peter Thiel was speaking about that as well. So the most important thing was to know how to do what you've thought about. The idea costs nothing and implementation costs millions. Anyone wants to ask about people you hire? What is important for me is about motivation. When I see their eyes shining, they want to do something. There is a lot of knowledge that you can get in a week in the internet. If you want to do that, if you're sure about that, I will hire this person, even if this person is not that experienced yet. If they do not have this experience, but they're running, they're asking questions, they're doing something. This is my future manager, basically. Vladyslav? Well, there is a question of whether I have understood it in the right way or you have read it without commas. But speaking about whether about our professionals, for example, at the C level, we're not hiring them very frequently. We just have hired one person in the recent years for the C position. All the other people have been coming from our company. Speaking on people on the C position, they first of all, whether they're going to be psychologically compatible to me and to other people at the CEO positions, because this is the most important things. And then there all of the other things connected to the professional qualities or to the personal achievements and their motivation, so on and so forth. Speaking about the lower positions, then still, the human qualities are number one as well. The human qualities are important as well. Of course, it will depend on the position, but the universal rule would go to that it's much easier to hire a person and to turn them into the professional than to take the professional and make him into a human. So basically every new person changes the culture of your organization, and every new person changes the culture of your organization. And if your organization is out of 10 people, then it changes importantly, significantly, dramatically. If your organization consists of 1,000 people, then it's not that much big of a change, but it is a change. So you have to understand whether this person fits you with your positions, with your points of view, with your vision. Although the other things are quite banal, so it's about the experience of a person, like you have said, with motivation of every particular person, and with some other achievements that the persons have shown. Okay, we have one of the most important principles, and we have also discussed that with Vasyl as well, that if you will think of a coin, and on one side you have the freedom carved, and then the other side of this coin would be the responsibility. So very important principles in our company is that we're not interested to work with the people who will be like puppets. So what are the puppet employees who said like, oh, we haven't been told about that, we didn't have this command done, so we didn't know that it has to be done like that. We really want the people to fight for their freedom, and we really want the people to fight for their freedom and to be ready to be responsible for that. We're ready to give people at the C positions, at whatever, at F positions, I don't know, at the G positions, whatever. We really want to give them the unlimited amount of freedom if they're ready to take their responsibility. And that's magic. It works like magic, because sometimes people, they're just like, wow, there was a minute of wait, of frustration, but then they're starting to do something better when they understand that no one is going to control them at the micromanagement level, like where you are, have you sent this letter, have you been to the office. No, right now basically we don't have this control over there, but we have a clear KPI, and you have to be responsible for your KPIs, and this is something that drives us forward. Okay, I think that we have just like 1 or 2 minutes left, and I just wanted to give an opportunity for 20 seconds for each and every one of our panelists to say something. If you wanted to say something to our audience, please do that right now. Vladislav, let's start with you this time. I wanted to say one thing that I wanted to say that, we used to be millionaires. I don't think a lot of people, they do not remember that. So like in 1995, or everyone who has been alive in 1995, you used to be millionaires, if you can recall that. And we can ask this question, whether our points of view and our life was different than our points of view and our mental frame right now. So have we felt ourselves better then? No, I think what's felt even worse. So I think it's not about being a millionaire or billionaire, but it's about your position in society overall. So I would like to wish all of us to only grow, to only move forward. And I would like to say that it's very easy to build up your own heaven behind your fence, but then you get out of the fence, then you will only see the criminality, you will see the clusters, you will see the unhappy people. And when I'm standing at that fence, I can see the change is happening, and I can see the very fast change happening. And I do believe that in the city that we're going to have here, in the city that a lot of people would like to live here, and I do believe that our majority of us will not be afraid to take a walk in the streets. And this is an example of when people are changing their reality and the reality around themselves as well. I would like to wish us to have all of the best of the energy to make this change happen. I would like to wish all of us the health to make that happen and to be creative and get the ideas that you would like to follow. I am sure that each and every one of you have your own dream, but I would like to wish all of us not only to have a dream, but for you to have the goals behind these dreams and for you to have the actions behind those goals. And after those actions, you would drive to success. And when you will succeed, please start dreaming of something more, setting out the bigger ambitious goals, more efforts, more actions, and more success. Never stop. The life is interesting when it's life in movement. Be happy. I just would like to wish uh, also at the 12th Odessa International Film Festival that we've had here, and we have some really cool guests coming as well, and we have guests from the Inglorious Bastards, and we had Terry Gilliam, who made this 12 Monkeys, and Monty Python there. So basically, he had a meeting when we had a meeting in the iClub in the Odessa International Festival, and he said, like, never grow up. Never lose your curiosity, the childish curiosity and inquisitiveness that you have, because this is the driver to everything else. So, and besides that, please be sure that the life changes so fast that you have to invest into yourself, because this is something that is currently highly needed from us today. So, stay in the best of health and stay stressless. For the last 3 years, I wish to everyone create whatever, but just create. But today I would like to make a slight change to that. I am sure that we have a lot of creators here and we have this hot spot and hub of energy. I hope there will be less obstacles for your creation. Whatever those obstacles are, the pandemics, the public officers, I don't know, and let there be the peaceful skies over Ukraine and Unit City. Have the best of the day.